know that sometimes you know something, and then as you go through life, you have experiences that teach you that same lesson, something that you already knew, but now you see it in a way that you've never seen it before. I brought some string with me, and I need a volunteer. Hey, could you take that string and just take it down the hall, like all the way to the men's bathroom? Okay. I got this string, and as you can see it in my hand, it just keeps spinning farther and farther and farther and farther. I want to kind of use this string. Okay, you can drop that down and you can come back in, but thanks. This string, I want this string to represent time. How many know God created time? Somebody asked Albert Einstein what he thought of time, and he said, well, time is something that God created so that everything doesn't happen at once. But I've got this string here, and just imagine that this string has no end. It just keeps going and going and going, and it never ends. It never runs out. And so because it never stops, you can't measure it. So you see, we all have a point in time when we were created. One thing I've discovered about time is that I could take this string and I could say, okay, this string is a timeline, and I'm going to tie a knot in this string right here. And that is my life. This is when I was born. This is when I'm going to die. And who knows when that will be. But I'm going to live forever. Because how many know when God created us, there is part of you that's eternal. It will never die. And we will spend eternity somewhere. Either in heaven or in hell. And yes, hell is a real place. And I'm a bit taken back by the fact that Jesus spoke more about hell than he did heaven. And I think it's because he doesn't want anybody to go to that horrible spot. But my life will just go on and on and on. And I used to say that life is really short, and it is. You know, James, in the book of James, James describes it as just a vapor, a mist that just appears for a moment, and then it's gone. But when you stop and just try to contemplate eternity, could you take this string, Colin, and just kind of go that way with it? And just think that it's going to go on and on and on and on and on and on. And, you know, here's 1,000 years. 1,000 years from now, I'll be right here. 2,000 years, I'll be right here. I don't know how many, a billion or a gazillion, or think of the biggest number you can imagine. Because what happens is when we get to the end of that string, this line will never end. It will just keep going and going and going. And one thing I find so amazing about God is that God will never end. Did you know that you will never ever end? 1 billion years from now, you will still be alive. Maybe not in this flesh and blood, but you'll be somewhere. Someone say amen. And God can go back on the other side of the string, and he can go backwards as far as he wants. But how many know that time is something that God created? Because before even time, the Lord knew what he was doing, and he created everything that there was. And so I stopped and I just started contemplating eternity and how long it was. And it's so long that it's not even fair to say it's long, because long would mean that you can measure it. Eternity is unmeasurable, so it's permanent. And everybody I've ever met will spend eternity in one of two places. And when I'm over here and I'm in heaven, I'm going to be, worshiping around the throne of God, and I'm sure God's got some really wonderful things for us to do. But right now, I have an opportunity to share Christ with people who don't know him, and share the gospel with people, and give them an opportunity to come to know Christ. How many here would say, I want my life to count? I want my life to count for God, because I don't want to come to the end of my life and look back and say, that was really short. If I had it to do over again, I think I would do something a little different. I think I would have stood in faith a little bit more. I think I would have trusted God a little bit more. I don't want to be in that camp. Is your desire this morning to say, I want my life to make a difference. I want my life to count for eternity. So that when this knot is over, that as I step into eternity, I'm going to be able to stand back there and say, Lord, I didn't do everything right, but I gave you everything I had, and I held nothing back. I want to be able to say that. And I want to make a difference. I want God to use me. I want to be like that little boy in John chapter 6 that gave Jesus his lunch. It wasn't much, but it was his very best, and it was all he had.